Hello and welcome to another Tech Campus Coffee live webinar. This is an opportunity for you to learn about career paths at Tech directly from professionals in your field.
We'll be speaking to technical representatives from a variety of fields at Tech, and they'll share why they enjoy what they do.
Participants also have a chance to directly ask speakers and recruiters questions and get a good understanding of why Tech is a great place to work, as well as where your strengths, talents, and learning opportunities lie. So our first guest is Ryan Sword, Director of Value Delivery at Race 21. He has a couple of degrees from Columbia and Queens. And then our second guest is McKenzie Nicks, Asset Health Analyst in Tech Digital Systems, and she's got a computer engineering degree from UVic. Maybe I'll start off with Ryan. Do you want to maybe introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about, what is Race 21?
Yeah, for sure. And thanks to all who've taken time to join us this morning. Appreciate your time. My name's Ryan Sword. I have what I think is the coolest job at Tech. And the reason is because my team is at the sort of epicenter of reinventing mining. And what that means is, for a bunch of reasons, mining has been maybe behind a little bit some other industries, maybe like consumer goods or manufacturing, in embracing, I guess, the last 30 years of technology and innovation, which is not to say we've done nothing, but simply that, there's some realities. Mining has a high up and down commodity prices, and so that can take your eye off the ball. And we're highly distributed geographically. We work outdoors, unlike manufacturing. So for lots of good reasons, I would describe our technology efforts as largely driven by third parties like OEMs, original equipment manufacturers. And I would say very site specific. So not really a whole corporate program. And so what Race, a lot of people on this call are involved in, is this program called Race 21, which is an attempt to essentially, in about 2.5 years, catch up with sort of where consumer goods, manufacturing, aerospace, and a bunch of other industries have been for the last sort of 20 years. And basically, foundationally, it's about treating your data as an asset and using it to drive insight into your business. So back to my job and why it's the coolest one at Tech. I've got a bunch of direct reports, and they're in what we call domain areas, and they're in mining and drill and blast and our processing plants and maintenance. And they lead digital teams made up of really talented young people from all over the world who have joined our mining industry and bringing their insights and their talents to Tech as we try and bootstrap 25 years of analytics in 2.5 or 3 years. And that's what Race 21 is, and that's what I do on a daily basis. Happy to discuss it. It's a really exciting time to think about a career in the resource industry in general, but at Tech specifically.
Great, thanks, Ryan. McKenzie, do you want to maybe introduce yourself and talk a little bit about what you do?
Yeah, for sure. So one of the cool things is I think that I have the coolest job at Tech. So I'll argue right on that. So I work in TDS, so Tech Digital Systems, in the Operational Technology Group. Essentially, what I do is every single thing that moves in the mine. So if it's equipment, if it's people, I'm collecting data on it, trying to support as much as possible. So in saying that, everything that moves from sensor to the cloud, our team handles. If you can put up that slide that I have. Maybe? Yeah,
Feluca. Yeah, you can put that one up. The great. We weren't sure what that slide was called, so.
So I kind of, this is essentially what our team handles. So at the very bottom, you see a bunch of different equipment. So on that equipment, there's third-party sensors, there's data buses. So from looking into new sensors, testing them, we have a facility up in Airdrie that we do technical testing. So vibration, temperature, elevation for our mines down in South America. We go through that process, our team. Then it comes the installation. So I'm generally on site for all these installations of third party when we're first trialing them, which I think is pretty cool. I love cars, so being able to work on these machines are absolutely incredible. And then I get to see the data come through. So from sensor to cloud, the next step, we go through our server stack. Our team maintains our entire server stack. So from data pipelining to server management, we kind of get to have our hands in all of that. And then it goes into our cloud pipeline. So Teck is currently moving into cloud with Ryan's Race 21 initiatives. So all of those pipelinings into BigQuery, PubSub, our team gets to handle as well. And then the front end, the last thing is the application stack. So with our advanced analytics, we are using Seek, which is advanced analytics tool. You can create new tags depending on tags are like sensor data values. So you can take 2 tags and actually create a new one that maybe predicts engine failure or anything like that. And then lastly is Grafana. So that's our dashboarding tool. All sites use it and our team supports it as well. So we kind of get to have our hands on the hardware software integration, new technologies coming up. So Ryan's team coming up with a really cool new idea and we get to execute it or be a part of it at least, which is, I think is awesome. We get to kind of go into every little aspect of computer science and computer engineering, the software, the hardware, and everything in between. So that's kind of what we do.
Awesome. Thanks, Kenzie. So yeah, and then just a reminder too for everyone, if you want to ask questions along the way, like you can put them in the chat or you can raise a hand. What Masaki and I will do now is likely just ask some questions that we have that we don't always get these 2 experts at our fingertips either. So it's always nice to have a few items answered while we're chatting, and then you guys can sort of go ahead and ask questions as you see fit or when you're ready to ask one. But I guess a good place to start, obviously there's going to be lots of co-op students and lots of new graduates on the line. So maybe, Kenzie, can you talk to us a little bit about the co-op program? I know you've had lots of co-ops. You and I have worked together lots on hiring students for your team. So maybe talk to us a little bit about what students would potentially do on your team or any cool project they've worked on.
Yeah, for sure. So I was actually a co-op with Teck in 2016. I did a year co-op with the company. I worked actually in the plant and geotechnical area. I'm not in that area anymore, but it does give me great insight into that aspect. I did bring Wyatt on. He's my co-op student right now, and he can kind of talk to some of the projects that he's working on.
Awesome.
Hey, yeah, so one of the main projects I'm working on right now is developing KPIs to kind of monitor the performance of our team as a whole. And basically that's just making sure that the data is getting to where it needs to go, the quality is there. And then I'm also in charge of diagnosing issues on trucks and making sure that the connectivity is there at that layer, kind of before the pass off, before it hits our server stack. But it's all really interesting stuff. It's all pretty new to me. I'm learning a lot. Previous to this, I had worked in oil and gas, and I was actually working for a pipeline company. But it's kind of interesting now because I'm working on basically a data pipeline, and data in this day and age it's the new oil, right? So it's really exciting. It's a really exciting space to be in, and especially just being on site. I mean, working on all the technology it's a great experience, but when you actually get to go to site and you see the equipment and the sheer scale of the operations and what you're doing and how it's helping everything out is just, it's amazing, and you can't really put it into words, the experience.
Awesome. Thanks, Wyatt. I'm glad it's going well.
Yeah. Yes, he actually interviewed me, so nice face.
Hey. It's been a while. Awesome. Okay, and then I'm just looking for some questions here in the chat while we're at
Let
it.
me just build on Wyatt's point, if I can,
Sure.
really quick,
Yeah.
while we get the questions together, because I think he makes a really insightful point, and it's something I've always loved about mining. We are a huge company all over the globe, but the lived reality for 99% of the people is the site, is Line Creek, which is one of our coal mines. It's the Trail Smelter. It's Red Dog up in the Arctic Circle. The great thing about mines is they're these little ecosystems and they're closed systems. And so you can change things and see an impact, right? And I'm talking about you can change something in the morning and come back the next day and see how night shift and day shift have done with it, right? And so they're very satisfying places to work. I think that's sort of what Wyatt's getting at, which is that because they're closed loops and because they're relatively small ecosystems, you get to make a change and actually see it, and you can know if it succeeded, or often if it doesn't, then you get another chance. And that's actually one of the really exciting things about mines. They're like little laboratories, and it's amazing what they let us get away with in terms of trying new stuff.
That's awesome. And I guess along those lines, Ryan, maybe you can speak to this, or maybe Kenzie. I guess for right now, what's the most exciting project that you see coming down the line, or that we're currently working on, or something that's going to make a huge impact to operations?
I'll do one that's making an impact right now, just after you said make a change and you can see it same day pretty much. One of the big things we're doing right now is oil analysis. So up in the Arctic Circle, we have a mine called Red Dog. The waterways actually freeze for 9 months out of the year. So they do air carrier, like a drop. When engines go, the truck sits until the waterways open again. So one of the things we implemented this year was an oil monitoring system that does particle count, viscosity, density. So far, since August, we've had 3 engine saves. We're now deploying this at 2 of our other sites, which is a huge thing. Like, you might actually have a number on this, but around $500,000 for when an engine goes. So 1, it's an engine when they've been blown in Red Dog, and 2, it's a truck parked for potentially 6 months. So having those detections, those early detections, so we can detect a failure before it's happening, just in oil samples, like those are some of the cool things where you see a win and you're like, that's awesome. Like, we just did that.
That is awesome.
Do I get to answer that one too, Stacey?
Yes, please. Yeah.
Okay, great example, McKenzie, and that's our bread and butter. Is lots of initiatives like that. At the same time, Teck is actually on the forefront of some really pioneering stuff that's a couple years away. And you guys might have heard about, well, obviously you've heard about autonomous vehicles in the broader economy, and pretty soon we're all going to be just flying around in autonomous cars and snoozing on the highway and stuff. Well, it's actually reality at 3 of our mine sites. We're starting to replace our conventional, that is our people-driven trucks, with autonomous trucks. And listen, there's some great reasons to do that. They're more productive. Fundamentally, they're much safer. And it's a critical risk for us, because is people driving these huge 320-ton trucks at night. But what I'm excited about is we've got a mining that is a load and haul. That's what we call the movement of these trucks, load and haul analytics team. And we're trying to figure out how we bring autonomy and load and haul analytics together. And that is going to put us in the absolute bottom decile in terms of our operating costs. The combination of autonomous trucks and then applying advanced analytics, for instance, for intersection management and for fuel management and for speed management. It's pretty cool. There's a lot of mining companies doing autonomous trucks. There's very few sort of aggressively pursuing trying to bring external advanced analytics and autonomous trucks together. So a bit longer term than the actual real stuff that McKenzie's talking about. We're going to get there in a year or 2.
Cool. That is awesome. Yeah, autonomous is always a fun one to talk about, because it is crazy. You feel like it's so far off, and it's not that far away after all, which is pretty cool. Great. I think we have a question. We got a couple of questions in the chat, and then I know I have a hand up here as well. So I'll go to the hand up. I think it's Sakshi. Do you want to turn your mic on and ask a question?
Yeah, sure. So hi, everyone. I'm Sakshi, and I'm a researcher at University of Victoria. I attended the Teck session last week too, and found a brief talk on Race 21 quite exciting. So that inspired me to attend this session on technology, specifically on Race 21 too. So Ryan and McKenzie, thanks for sharing how the technology is overcoming the conventional techniques in mining. And being an electrical engineer, being a researcher in electrical engineer, I actually explored the page of Teck 20, the Race 21, and I could see that how you have been using some sensors and making things autonomous too. So I'm looking at the career opportunities at Teck for somebody in electrical engineering, and wondering if you can put some more light on it.
Yeah, for sure. I can start first, and maybe I'll hand it over to Ryan. So some of the things that we're doing on our team, we're deploying a new rugged compute platform right now. So on every piece of equipment that's moving, it has a computer that kind of looks like a bomb. It's like super solid and super rugged. So everything that we put on, it essentially pipelines into that. We just hired an electrical engineer maybe a month ago for our team. He gets to look at schematics, trying to find new data buses that we can connect into. For our 2 autonomous mines that we're currently deployed at. So one is at HVC, one is at Elkview. One of the big things that we're seeing is when we're going from a conventional truck and getting the conversion, so converting from conventional to autonomous, a lot of our data buses are getting lost, or we might not be able to handle them the same way. So with cat trucks, there's a central data bus, and unfortunately the autonomous system and our data systems talk on the same bus, so it gets overloaded and basically we get nothing. So one of the I'm working with our team right now is trying to find different buses we can connect into. So I would say right now 80% of my day is looking at schematics. It's constantly trying to see if we can plug in sensors into our fuel line and get real-time fuel readings. Anything like that, there's a lot of work for in tech right now to have feet on the ground and people looking for different ways to connect.
So are you talking about data analytics?
So it's kind of a bit of both. Like I said earlier, our team works with the hardware side and we work with the software side. So we work really close with Race21 with if they're running in a machine learning model and they're not getting a certain tag that they want. Our team will go and investigate if we can get that tag, if we can install a sensor there to get that value. So we do work on that side with data analytics, trying to find stuff, but we also work on the hardware side, trying to install and find different areas of data that we can put into the analytics.
That's interesting, because in one of my projects, which I executed at university, I installed a layout of wired and wireless sensors beneath the concrete pavements with Sanesh municipality. And what I'm doing is I created a remote monitoring station. I'm collecting all the data. I'm modeling that data and applying the machine learning algorithms. And of course, then I'm going to the site again. So what you told me, it looks somewhat similar to me. That's quite interesting.
Yeah.
Great, thanks. And then Brian, did you want to add to that, or McKenzie covered it for you?
You're on mute.
That is the 4,000th time since COVID began I've started talking on mute. It's a nice personal milestone. No, I thought that was a great answer.
Perfect.
Awesome. Great.
Looks like Victor has a question that's kind of unrelated. I thought I'd just take a stab at it. So it's talking about basically startups and prototypes and coming from working at UBC. One thing I do know for students is there's a lot of opportunities for startups. So is working with the faculty, or there's funding. There's at UBC there's Nest. There's lots of support for startups, especially students. And there's funding sources like MyTax and whatnot, some great resources. So I would encourage you to sort of look at that route, just to go down that path. And if you need, we can send links if you want.
Okay. So when I'd asked about hiring, and I know this is a common question we get, Ryan, actually, is obviously it's called 21, and that's sort of referring to 2021. So can you talk to us a little bit about we've gone from 5 people to over 160. What's the future of Race look like? And I guess from a hiring perspective, but also from like a team perspective.
Yeah, that's a good question. First of all, we put Race 21. The acronym many of you may know this already. I'm sure you've done all your research. Stands for Renew, which is sort of a refresh of some of our underlying technology. We have a lot of mines with highly different levels of base infrastructure, as I'm sure McKenzie deals with every day. Automate, which we've touched on already. Connect, which is our sort of overall word for sort of the mass deployment of analytics to our business. And then Empower, which is the people side and ensuring we're understanding the impacts on our people of this technology, but also to make sure we're bringing the right types of people into this company and workforce and work setups that talent and technology talent wants and to make it attractive. So why 21 though? Well, like anything in industry, to get a big company, it's like a big oil tanker, and it turns very slowly. And there's nothing quite like a hard date to sort of focus people's attention. I'm spending a lot of my time thinking about next year, which is sort of, we put some financial targets against next year, but it doesn't stop. We don't turn off the lights on New Year's Eve 2021 and I'll go home. Race 25 is the next segment after that, and it continues on. And we're actually calling Race X. Bit of a ripoff from Elon Musk, but Race X is the period after that. It's one of the frustrations of this year has been the Race 21 team and all the folks that work with us, and a lot of those folks are on this call. We set up an office in Yaletown. It's actually Slack's former headquarters in downtown Yaletown. But because of COVID, nobody gets to go there. So we had this really cool environment. It was going to be a fun place to work and sort of very visually very sort of technology and analytics looking sort of venue, but so we're looking forward to getting. I know it's hard to imagine a post-COVID world right now, but we're looking forward to moving in there and all hanging out together.
Awesome, thanks for that. And then Kenzie, from your standpoint, from your team, I guess what's the future look like for your team? Is there going to be some big growth opportunities, lots of hiring? What's the plan? So so we're anticipating now. So we're just getting ready for our January starts for our co-op students. So like I mentioned, there's 50 students for the Cole business unit. Across the entire business, I would think there's probably close to 55, 56 students. So Cole definitely hires the bulk of the students at this point, but I'm anticipating Race and a couple other areas to be really ramping up their student hiring in the future. So this is just some testimonials of some students that worked for us they ended last August, I think, and they worked in the digital systems field. And so I guess I can talk about till I'm blue in the face and say how great it is to work for Teck. You might have got an indication that we all think we have the best jobs here. So it's a running competition here, but the students certainly have been saying the same thing. They really have been enjoying their experience. So we do a survey with all our outgoing students to sort of ask them how they like their experience, what was their favorite parts, and what were the big challenges. And you get a lot of the same feedback where they can't believe how much responsibility they were given as a co-op with Teck, and that they really enjoyed the type of work they get to do, and they get to work on some really cool projects. So so this is a little bit about what they'd like to see and moving forward. So now I'm sort of prepping now to start hiring for our May co-op term. So if anyone's on the line that's looking for co-op, you'll see our postings go up early to mid-January. And there'll be a variety of positions, but certainly there's going to be some for the digital side of things. Quite a few I would anticipate, actually. And that's for Cole. And then likely we'll see across the business units and see we should have some from Copper as well as Trail, and then potentially for Race as well. So stay tuned for those. They should be coming up, like I said, mid-January at the latest. And then we'll start recruitment for that. And usually about a month out, then we have everything clued up and we'd have to start getting you used to getting ready for onboarding and getting ready to come on site for May. Most of our opportunities are about 8 months up to 12 months, sometimes 16 months, but the bulk are 8 to 12.
Perfect. Now, just being cognizant of time here, I know we're coming to the very end of the session. So just in case you have more questions, Stacey and I will stick around after 10 o'clock. If there's more questions, usually we do have more that come in. And if Ryan and McKenzie can stick around, great. If not, feel free to jump off. In the meantime, I just want to say thank you for supporting us today. And for your students, if you have questions, feel free to type them in now. It's the sort of last call for questions. The other thing is input, feedback. So we have sort of a feedback survey we'd like you to fill out. So if you could, that'd be great. Fluke is going to posted that in the chat right now, so you can access that. And if you can't access the chat, don't worry. I'm going to spam you later on today with with the link.
Don't you worry.
Yeah. So, but yeah, the main reason is this: we want to host more campus coffee in the future, and we kind of want to know what you want to hear about. So we put these together based on what students want to learn about. They want to learn about technology. They want to hear about race, and so we built that. We're going to have more recruitment sessions in early January to learn more about recruitment and different aspects of that. Like I said, we're going to have on autonomous vehicles and a presentation on that and some Q&A. So, but your feedback is critical for this, because if students don't want it, we just shut it down. So, yeah. Anyway, so appreciate you doing that. In the meantime, any other questions for our guest speakers? Maybe actually what I'll do is, McKenzie or Ryan, you want to take a stab at this if you still have time, is what advice do you have for students today? It's a wide open question there.
Ryan, do you want to go first, or do you want me to?
No, listen, I appreciated the safety share because I'm a few years out of school myself. But looking back, one of the big trade-offs, especially when I finished my MBA, was, do you want to do something super established and sort of safe with a big company, or do you want to do something entrepreneurial and sort of interesting? And my pitch would be, Race 21 lets you to kind of do both, and mining kind of lets you do both, because we're both one of the biggest mining companies in the world at the same time as we're trying to transform. So I think we have got the sort of the backing of a big company and some of the stability you might be looking for with that, as well as some of the excitement of come join us and help us reinvent mining. So it's the best of both worlds is my pitch.
Yeah, one thing that I would say, really, really try and do personal projects. Find what you like and see how you can apply that. Because when you love what you do, you can do some pretty cool stuff. When you have a great group to work with, which that's one of the things that I I'm stoked on is our team is so much fun to work with. We have different aspects coming in, and we all have different personal projects going, and we can kind of bring some of those ideas into Teck. And once you find something that you really love and you're really passionate about, it makes work so much better. Getting up from 7 to 4 every day, it's a lot easier when you love what you do. And so I would really, really urge you guys to start personal projects and try and find that what you like and how you could apply it to different positions.
Yeah, I've worked with lots of teams across the business, and certainly, yeah, that's something I often say when people say, like, why do you work for Teck, or why do you like working here? You don't find a group of more passionate people to work with. People get really excited. You know, Brian had alluded to it too, is that impact you get to make. You know, you get to see your projects come to fruition and make some big change, and that makes people pretty excited about the kind of work they get to do. So it makes it fun to be able to add people to those teams and get them excited about it as well. I have another question here from Artie, and it's about he's a student majoring in depth, and they're looking for is there any particular skills that you're looking for in a co-op student when it comes to databases?
Yeah, so one of the things that we look into is any personal projects. That's a big one. If you have passion in what you're doing, like I keep saying this, it is a big thing. If you can apply what you're doing at home and what you love to do at home in your little side project to work, you're going to learn so much more. You're going to get so much more out of your co-op if you enjoy and want to learn more. If you don't like what you're doing and you don't like databases, for instance, and you have no really huge interest into it, your co-op is going to not be great. If you have huge interest into it and you ask all of the questions and you're constantly wanting to learn more about different databases, whether it be time series, SQL, historians, like if you want to learn more, Teck is a great company to do a co-op with because we can provide those different experiences. If you want to go into geotechnical and that's kind of an interest to you, we can put you on site for a day with a geotechnical engineer and you can job shadow. We can facilitate those in certain cases. So really try and figure out what you kind of want to do, and that's what we look for heavy in co-ops is the interest.
Yeah. Awesome. There's any other questions I'm missing out, Masaki, that I haven't seen there?
I don't think so. Do you want to talk a bit about the schedule? What that looks like?
Are you talking to me? Yeah.
Well, yeah. Let's talk about the schedule in the Elk Valley there versus so in Vancouver. You know, we work. I guess we're fairly flexible, Ryan, and race, but you know, it's 5 days a week type of thing. But it's different at sites. HVC is they work 4 days on, 3 days off. It's a 3-day weekend every week. So students have a lot of flexibility. And obviously in a pre or post pandemic, you can travel more and explore more. But it's still nice to have a 3-day weekend every week. But the Elk Valley, how are you finding that schedule?
Yeah, and then Yes, I was going to say at the coal business unit, yeah, we work generally, it's what's called an earned day off or an EDO schedule. You'll hear it referred to as. And here we work 9-hour days. So like Kenzie had mentioned, 7 to 4 generally is usually the work hours. 4 days a week. Friday you work an 8-hour day, and basically you bank enough hours over 2 weeks to get every second Friday off. So you get a long weekend every second weekend. So again, some great flexibility in terms of the schedule and able to offer that sort of work-life balance.
Yeah, definitely. Great. Any other questions that we missed here?
Are you guys okay to stick around, Kenzie and Ryan? You're okay to stick around for a couple more minutes?
Sure.
Okay.
Looks like we got some new ones here for McKenzie and Ryan. All right. I'd like to know about background and specialization. Okay. It's about connecting after the session. Yeah, I think what we can do is, so I've already made a note to the previous Invictor. We'll connect after, and I guess about his specific questions. Let me see here, Crystal. Compared to 2021, summer co-op, number of co-ops for fall will be the same number or less than in summer 2021. Okay, so maybe for Stacy, do you want to cover sort of recruitment numbers?
Sure. Yeah. Let's see here. So compared to summer 2021, number of quotes. I'm I guess my politician's answer to this question is I'm not sure what my numbers are going to look like. Yeah, this is the fun surprise I
That's true.
I have every month prior. I'm anticipating the numbers have been really steady. So just to give you some insight, through this whole COVID, the pandemic, our co-op numbers have been really solid, and actually our recruitment numbers overall. We had a small period of slowdown right when the pandemic hit, and I think all of us just sort of took a step back and go, okay, how do we deal with this? And literally it's been full steam ahead. So even through the pandemic, we hired the May after the pandemic sort of hit, we still hired 42 students with cold, and again 46 last term, and now 50 kind of in January. So I'm anticipating that is going to continue throughout. So I'm anticipating at least 40 to 50 students in Cole Business Unit alone coming up here for summer. And then we also have a summer student program. So that's also a program that we have with the Cole Business Unit that is combination of technical roles as well as labor roles, and it gives people a bit of an experience on the mine site. So that one is not, again, another bit of a question mark. I'm hoping over the next month I'll get a little bit more insight into what those approvals will look like and how many positions we'll have. But I'm anticipating that usually somewhere between 20 to 30 positions, and then co-op another 40 to 50. So there's going to be lots of opportunities coming up in the next summer. So I guess that's my politician's answers. I don't know exactly what they're going to be, but I know I'm going to have lots. I've been hiring co-ops for over 10 years now, and I haven't had a term where I haven't had a lot of students come through. And I think, to speak to that a little bit, that definitely gives me a lot of confidence, but also it should give someone else a confidence in Teck, in that the message I've always gotten, whether we're going through a mining cycle or a pandemic, all these things, Teck is really invested in their growth, really has a long-term vision. So to it, and a lot of entry-level people. So to cut off the taps on a co-op program or a student program, it just doesn't make sense from a long-term perspective. So I've always seen over the years that I've worked here, and I've seen a few mining cycles go through and everything else, they've always had a huge commitment to making sure we support our students through co-op and making sure we have that sort of build that talent pool for future opportunities. So that gives me a level of confidence knowing that I know for sure we're going to have a strong co-op program moving forward into the summer and then from then on in.
Yeah, it ties in with sort of what Stacey was saying earlier about to the student about not being able to hire, him into a co-op position just because he's full-time. And it really is, we protect our co-op positions because we know we need to support students. We need to support the schools and the programs. But that being said, in terms of jobs for all of you on the call, it's not a matter of, if we have a position that, you're going to be qualified for, as long as you keep building your skills. It's a matter of when. We have so much, we're growing in so many different areas, and we have so much need for young talent, which is why we're here today and why we want to engage with you, because we need you. All right, on that note, I think sort of last call for questions.